meet John.
John works with us. They give us obviously space, and they provide the pizza and the beer, and soon to provide some AV talents. Apparently. So thanks to Big Nerd Ranch for allowing us to use their space. Simple Photo, which is Kim's employer, they don't pay for our meetup fees, but they graciously use their free meetup for our meetup fees, so we don't have to pay for our meetup fees. This I learned like 2 months ago.
We're just happy to be here.
So, and then the third one is Pardot Engineering, who is my company and Will's company. They are relatively new sponsors because I started working with them a few months ago, and it's like, we need sponsors, and they said okay. So they help pay for the stickers, which I didn't set up, I'm a slacker, and they also help buy the cake and any other kind of little weird things that we need. They mostly provide funds. So hooray for all our sponsors, because without them we would not be doing what we are doing. We are always looking for presenters. So if it doesn't matter if you've been using Ember for a year, been using it since it was like pre 1.0 release, or if you just started yesterday. If you think you found something cool, let us know, do a talk.
I'd be interested in a presentation on Ember pre 1.0 release.
Like just
because I didn't work with it, yeah, just.
I think you that presentation.
This would be like
the application that you were.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the guys on the core team that just got added to the core team had an app that was on Sprout Core, and then went from Sprout Core to like Ember pre whatever to Ember 1, and is like going from that whole path all the way up. The same app from Sprout Core all the way up, which is insane.
Yeah.
Edward Faulkner, EAF4 on Twitter, I think. But yeah,
Does he do Liquid Fire too?
yeah, he did. Yeah, he's a Liquid Fire guy. So yeah, he's got a ton of experience with.
He knows too much. You should take him out.
He's one of those people just like, okay, fine.
They got recorded, Todd.
Yeah. But you don't have to be that guy
Kidding.
to give a talk. You can give a talk if you just started using Ember. If you just found something cool you think is awesome and you want to talk about it, that's fine. It can last 5 minutes, it can last an hour. We're pretty flexible as to people giving talks. And if you're having a problem and just want to ask some people, Jim has done this a couple of different occasions where he's like, I don't know how to solve
I
that
don't have
problem."
knowledge, I have problems, plenty.
Just sit up here and like, this is what I'm running into, and we just kind of do a group debugging session and help solve problems. I don't know if we solved your problem.
It was enlightening nonetheless.
So, either way, if you're interested in hopping up here, I mean, bottom line, if I can do this, anybody can do this. I promise you. So does anybody have any announcements? Is anybody doing any hiring? Any of your companies interested in hiring people?
No.
Sounds like a no. Salesforce is not currently hiring because we are in our third quarter. We just spent a whole bunch of money on a user conference, and so I'll talk in the fourth quarter we'll have another conversation. Is anybody looking for a job or looking to get hired doing Ember-ish development? Yes? No. I recognize you, and I can't remember your name.
I've been to like 2 other meetings.
Yeah, you were the ones that were down at the Biltmore, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Cool. So.
I'm James. I mostly do like Rails and Python backend type stuff. I've got a lot of years experience using AngularJS and a little bit of Ember.
Cool. If anybody is interested in James services, get a hold of him. Have a conversation. Is anybody just excited about like things that are happening?
I'm excited about saying something. Okay, so here's the deal, guys. I've been working on an application for our meetup, and I worked on it a long time ago, and it's great. It's beautiful right now. If you were to go to it, you would see Tom, Dale, and you cast next to each other with a little map telling you how to get there huge. So it needs some updating, and I decided to kind of take it on myself to go and build the backend for it because I think that's fun and what I do. So I built an integration with Meetup, and so like I mean everything's not integrated, but if there's some cool features you want to have in there, maybe we can start figuring that out. But I want to provide like a good like kind of base to build our own application in a way that we can kind of facilitate people learning how Ember works to kind of come and get involved in it, maybe like in a community way, build this application. So anyway, so what I kind of want to propose, and like since Chris is figuring out how to spend some money, we can we can maybe have like a cool hey, just hang out and build this application time where we would, I don't know, like kind of see what we want to do and just how each other would work and how might Cam organize this, or how might I do this, or how might you think about testing that, or do you think testing this other thing is important, or like whatever kind of way we come together, kind of what. So Shay's got a good term for it. It's like gang. So like it's like gang pairing, it's like not pairing, but it's like gang up something. It's a cool term. I don't know. Shay's got it. But anyways, we should gang up some code and hang out and have fun. So I don't have a good day for that. It's not going to be this weekend or next weekend, but sometime you should see a day proposed.
Let's think about it and just do like an organized event where we just get together, call it a project night or something. We just all get together and do a little hacking on some stuff.
Like a project night, and it'd be great if anybody knows any that's also like kind of new to the framework to come and like start learning about it and stuff like that. And that's my idea, and it's what I'm excited about, so I said it.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Might be hard to top that, but if anybody else is. Todd?
I'm doing a talk at Connect.js, but you guys don't have to go to it.
That's coming. Don't worry, that's coming.
Oh, okay. Well, the side note is that something happened to land in my lap, which was a whole bunch of wireframes, and my talk is on Bootstrap, and the person doing it wireframed out kind of a reskinning of one of our internal apps, and she just did it with Bootstrap skins. And so I looked at that, I said, okay, I can just make a prototype in Ember, and this has been my goal internally, is to walk into meetings and say, oh, you want to get a concept out really fast? Let's prototype it with one of these frameworks. Since I've landed on Ember, I want to try to do that. I was able to prototype most of the screens just with basic routes and a couple links and with Bootstrap in like 3 days. And now I like am able to walk up to someone and say, hey, we should actually make this app an Ember app, but like, the API work would take like a year. So that being said, I was so happy that I could just start the CLI and just build routes really quickly and implement a UI that is mostly copy and paste, and it's functional. And I'm gonna walk into my talk, instead of having slides, just have an app to say, hey, this is how to actually prototype with Bootstrap, but it's gonna be leveraging an Ember app. I do all have working code, and I think that's something to be said, that it'll be done. Like, yeah, we don't have to think about most of this. We don't have to build some controllers or components or some of that other stuff, but scaffolding's done. I'm very happy.
And if, she's not going to tell you this, but Kelly is also doing a talk on testing at Connect.js that will like slightly involve Ember. So if you're going to Connect.js, which I'm going to tell you in just a minute, you're going to have the opportunity to go for free. You should go watch her and Todd's talks.
What days are you guys talking on? Friday or Saturday?
Just talking Friday, I'm talking Saturday.
Everybody's just gonna talk. I don't want anyone to
Do you want to talk to an empty room?
I do, yeah.
Talking on
No,
Monday.
you feel great.
One of our other days, I don't know if you've been to this meetup, had like the ad hoc talk at JSConf, or it was at the CSSConf, and it was literally an empty room, and it was me. And I like sat there and watched it, I was like, and there's a video, and the talk is actually really great, and we use the video to say like, hey, this is how you should like kind of merge using Rails and Bower. And it was put on film, and it was me and the video guy. And I was like,
How hard was the temptation to not troll him in the talk? Like, how hard was that to resist?
Did you have questions?
No.
That's
You didn't
sad.
fake questions like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If you watch the video, you would think that the room was packed. The guy is like can present, and like he was not
Who's
phased by
this?
John Martin.
Oh, it's Jonathan Martin. Oh wow, no one was that talk?
Well, it was a poor job of creating a B track by having like handwritten signups. Like, no one came to that day-long conference to go to the B-track that you didn't know what the talk was going to be, so. I'm
Except
sure
for
at
you.
that time it was like something on animation or vector or something in CSS.
Right, okay.
Is there anybody else who's excited to say anything? Or just in general excited? You don't have to be excited about Ember, just you can be excited about anything. No, no excitement? Eat some cake, you'll get excited. Alright, speaking of Connect.js, we are a community sponsor for Connect.js, meaning that we get a booth, we get a banner, well, we have a shared booth and a shared banner, but we get some space dedicated to promote our group. We'll be supporting our local development community because it's a local conference. It's up in Cobb County at Cobb Galleria. And we need some help for volunteers. Right now, there's not a whole lot of help to be had. I am volunteering. David Lormore, who's from Birmingham, is volunteering. And I believe, what's the guy, John? Yeah, is it you? I wish you. Is volunteering. So there's 3 of us. So if anybody wants to volunteer, the perks of volunteering are that you get into the conference for free, you get to go to any of the talks for free, you get to go to the parties for free. If you volunteer to help on Thursday, you get to go to one of the workshops for free. And in general, things happen for free. It just takes a little bit of your time and effort to help set up the conference beforehand, help set up the conference afterhand, and do a little bit of work between talks to make sure that the presenter is set up properly. And they've got a whole list of steps of things that you need to do, so it's not like it's gonna be a hard thing to knock out. The conference is, the workshops are Thursday all day, like 9 to 5. The conference itself is Friday and Saturday from 9 to 5. And if you're interested in volunteering, let me know, and I can add you to the hopefully ever-growing list of people who want to volunteer.
Maybe Thursday.
Maybe Thursday?
I'll be up there
I
on
know the
Friday.
spots for Thursday were limited, so if you want to do it, let me know, and I'll find out if, which one do you want to do?
Which?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Next. So, one of our sponsors and my employer, Pardot Engineering, is having a networking night on October 21st at 5 Seasons Brewing up in Roswell.
Take a picture of a piece of paper.
I pulled that off the Twitter account, so I have no idea where that came from.
Okay.
I took a picture of the Twitter account.
I saved the screenshot, I printed it, and then I scanned it and faxed it to myself.
It's actually an animated GIF.
You can't see the subtle wrinkling of the paper. But yeah, so there's a networking night on October 21st at 5 Seasons Brewing in Roswell. You don't have to necessarily be interested in working for Pardot or Salesforce. You can just show up and be like, hey, I like talking tech with people and I want to drink free beer. And they're perfectly cool with that. So if you're interested, we'll probably pop a couple more things up on our Twitter account about it between now and then.
What day of the week is that?
October 21st, I'm not sure what day of the week that is.
It's a Wednesday. Tomorrow's 14th, right?
I guess, yeah, that's a good time. Yeah, that sounds right. It could be a Wednesday. Human calendar says it's a Wednesday. So if you're interested, I don't even think you have to sign up, you just show up. If there are sign up details, I will find out what they are and put them out there. And I think that's the last, yeah, that's the last of the slides. So with that being said, we have 2 talks tonight. I'm giving one on blueprints and Greg is giving one on Cordova. So we'll go first, you want me to go?
Well, you've been talking for a bit. I'll go.
Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
So I want to say something that I like how 12 people sign up to come here, and there's like around that number for the year. That's pretty awesome.
We're usually about whatever well, last month we were. Last month we had 17 sign up and we had like 6.
SAS had 20 people sign
I
up.
was gonna say, I signed up to go to the SAS meeting.
I think we sniped somebody like that last month as well.
We did.
So, yeah.
Maybe we should like maybe
I
more
talked
sites.
some people to death, they might get scared last month for SAS.
They had 20 people sign up. They were all like, oh, Todd Talk, I'm going. And they were like, oh, it's too pretty that I want to stay home.
Alright, so, I have, at my old job, I just switched jobs, been building, an Ember Cordova app every like month or two. Like small little applications, for various purposes, and I wanted to basically walk through the process of getting Ember set up, configured for Cordova, and actually build an Ember app onto a mobile device. So, there's no fancy presentation. So I'm just gonna do some stuff command line, and eventually I'm gonna read a file through the file system. There's a variety of things that you can do with Cordova to talk to the device, but I was gonna integrate with the camera, but I didn't have time to do that, so I'm just gonna read a file and then hopefully that'll be cool enough. I don't know. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and
Oh, we're live coding the whole thing.
yeah, I hope so. I got this other one that's there. That's
your backup.
This is my backup that I did feverishly before the meetup. It's working, so if all things fail, at least that's working.
Yeah, I tried that coding thing. I lost that video.
You lost it?
Yeah.
It's in the trash can.
That's where the audio. That thing's for.
Everybody knows how long this takes, so. Oh, plugged in the device. I don't need you.
Everybody know what Cordova is? Anybody not know what Cordova is?
project.
Oh, yeah. Does anybody know that could describe what Cordova is and why it exists? Yes. Could you?
It's an open source version of wrapping anything web or with a native code that's looking into a folder to display a web application on a native device. So it's
Yeah.
pretty much giving you a web view that's loading the website locally on a native device.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid approach. It's a mix of native code and JavaScript.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
There's a native wrapper that has a web view that runs a web app.
Yeah.
And that's available for how many platforms now? Half a dozen to a dozen?
Yeah, a lot. I've only written Cordova iOS apps, but Android, Windows, et cetera, et cetera. The main advantages for me is like I don't know Swift, I don't know Java. If I want to write a application in a native environment, maybe put it on App Store. That's a steep learning curve. And if you're a small company, you can't afford to hire 3 different developers to build out your product on different platforms. And so the nice thing about Cordova is you can write HTML, CSS, and JavaScript applications and serve them up in different environments.
The other thing is it gives you like native hardware access to
Yeah.
all the different features of the hardware, which is really cool.
Yeah, so it's things that I've done mostly around the file system, but like we had an offline app that needed to export data that was collected. So we used PouchDB to persist things in the local store, and then eventually they could export a file that gets exported to the file system for the app, and then you could plug the device into iTunes and just save as. So that was one use case. Some other things with file systems, but basically there's pretty good support for most of the stuff that you want to do with this device or with an Android device.
Did this have roots in titanium or aptanium or some sort of commercial product that went defunct? Maybe not.
It's a different platform.
Different.
There's Adobe PhoneGap, that's derived from this, or I'm not sure which one came first.
That's true. So, so Cordova was purchased by Adobe, I believe, and Adobe donated the core Cordova to Apache, and then PhoneGap is like the product version of Cordova. So they just build on top of Cordova.
I didn't know that it
Kinda like-
purchased it and didn't donate it to Foundation.
I'm 70% sure on that one. So.
Is that also like Ionic? Is that it?
Ionic has Cordova as core, and it's got some like Angular stuff. Once I got to that point, I was like, okay.
But Cordova is in the background.
Yeah, I believe so. All right, Ember is started up. Cool. All right. All right, so the nice thing about Cordova and Ember is, and the add-ons, is that there's someone's maintaining an add-on for Ember. So first step is to install the add-on. I know.
The node message.
Yeah, okay. And this is also a presentation on Node. So anyway, okay, we've got the add-on. It doesn't add anything yet. The one thing to keep in mind is that the Cordova requires the location type to be set to hash. So you just got to come into your environment. Can everybody see? Is that big enough? Do I need to make it bigger?
Bigger.
Switch your mode to presentation mode.
How do I do
Really
that?
annoying. Go to Sublime X2. Yeah, preferences, color scheme, below font, presentation.
Where?
Should be right above notes. Pastel's on dark. You don't have it.
I do not have it. What about Twilight? Nope.
No, it's a light scheme would probably be the best. Yeah.
Is that good? That's ugly, but everybody
easier
can
to
read.
read.
Okay.
Black text on white.
All right. So it requires the location type to be set to hash. So I just went and updated that. Okay. So that gives you some Cordova commands that you can do using Ember. So like step one after installing the add-on is to basically initialize the project. And what that's going to do.
Alert, not Cordova is good, sorry.
You have to initialize the Cordova project, and one of the things you do, so it's just a generator, you Cordova init, and you tell it I forget what it's called, but basically that's how your app will be identified if it makes it up to the App Store.
Oh, it's still gonna go to the App Store.
We're not doing that. That's like a whole ordeal.
Yeah, that's not a fun process.
They try to make that as painful as possible.
Painful as possible.
Yeah. I
Just
think
sit here and wait for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you could,
That just happened.
that's your stuff.
Yeah, it's so bad. It's such a bad ecosystem. Okay, so I just put it out, but what it did for us was basically added a Cordova directory, which is just pretty much a standard Cordova build. Like if you went to Cordova and downloaded it, it would look like this, where you have, and you can't read it, but it's Cordova, and then you have like hooks, platforms, plugins, and then a config file.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, this is the config file. We're not going to touch it. Okay. So the way that, so Cordova has a set of core features. But anything else that you need in the ecosystem? There's this Cordova plugins website. You can come here and search, like, maybe I need a file, and it will tell you what plugins are available. And you just can go to your Cordova directory and just add the plugin. Make this a different color too.
Oh, so there's a Cordova like command line?
Yeah, yeah.
Did we install that? Or?
No, it's already installed on my computer.
Okay.
All right. So I just went and installed the Cordova file plugin, which basically just lets you talk to the file system. Without installing that plugin, you wouldn't know what Cordova.file is.
Does it come in any like default plugins, like the GPS or accelerometer or anything?
No, I think at a certain point they separated the core of Cordova from even those like Apache maintained things. So like the file, the GPS, the camera, those are all maintained by Apache. And then there's a whole ecosystem of other add-ons, or plugins, I guess in this case. Please ask questions because I'm not presenting very well at this. So anyway, so we have our Cordova plugin for the file system, which we need for our Ember app to be able to talk to the file system. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to create an initializer for the application. And what I've used the initializer for in the past is you basically have to wait for a callback to know that Cordova has been initialized, that you're actually able to talk to Cordova. And so what I do is in the application initializer, I tell it to Ember allows you to defer readiness. So I say, well, if Cordova is not undefined, which means that the Cordova JS file is included in the project, defer readiness, and I set up an event listener. When Cordova is ready, it fires off the device ready event, and then I just have this wait on device ready function that gets called, and all that does is says, okay, go ahead and continue on from this point.
So defer readiness? So is that saying don't initialize the Ember application?
It stops the world.
Stops the whole world with Ember.
Yeah.
And then device ready events.
When Cordova initializes and sends the device ready event, then I know that it's available to me in the application, and I advance readiness, and Ember will boot up at that point. So,
okay.
So what you see when you open up the application is like you'll get the icon screen, the splash screen.
Yeah.
It'll go white, defer readiness. Cordova is just a script that gets added. We can
basically building your JavaScript environment?
Yeah. I was thinking about like, so defer readiness is an Ember callback kind of thing. So I guess it's a function that says, hey, help world. Then you can add an event listener, and that event listener is calling what, I guess is what I was wondering. The event is...
It's listening for that Cordova script to fire off an event.
And once it does, it like advances readiness, and that's just...
Yeah.
And so I guess, okay.
That way when I'm in my application, I don't have to worry about whether or not Cordova is available to me.
Yeah.
It was causing some weird, like, oh no, it's not, I'm trying to load before the other script's loading. This way, it's like, it's not noticeable.
Yeah, it's great. It's an interesting, like, kind of, cool.
Yeah.
It's good.
So, I don't know if there's a better way to do this, but this is just like,
Yeah, it's
I can feel very confident that I don't have to do checks like, is this available? No.
Mhm.
This is the pretty way to make it look, when you're building Cordova apps, it's like, if you have a single page app, like, using Initializer is a very nice way to do this. I appreciate that you put this in Initializer.
Cool. All right.
Doing
This
Cordova,
is the good way to do it then.
doing Cordova apps, and you just had like an app script, and you had like this jQuery ready thing, and then you're like, all right, add this weight listener, because that's the only way to hook into native apps. Native apps inject JavaScript. Like, they'll inject all your other code having to do with Cordova, and they fire an event, so
Okay.
it's,
I would, yeah, so you would basically, if you wanted to, for other events that fire, like, when you click out of the app, it goes into the background, there will be an event that fires, and you can add a listener to that, for that event, and you can run some code. When that happens, this is a good place to do all of that.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So you can, so all the I'm sorry if I'm taking over.
No, this is
all the callbacks. Except there's this huge slew of callbacks that iOS has when it's trying to handle what happens when it's like, because I'm not to enter the background phase. I have into the background phase.
Yeah.
I'm not to come out of the background. All those things, all those callbacks, you can handle inside that initializer.
Yeah, these are the default ones. I'm sure you can set up your own, but like device ready, pause is when it goes in the background, resume is when it comes back from the background, back button, menu button, search button, start call, end call, volume down, volume up. So you can do some interesting stuff. Like I was saying, you have pretty full access to the device.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. Okay, so we have an initializer. Okay, so at this point we've added the add-on, we've created the Cordova directory, we've added an initializer that basically waits for the Cordova script to be ready. So I know subsequent code that runs will have Cordova available to it. I'm just gonna write code onto the application route, which is kind of gross, but for this purpose, it's fine. So I need an application route because I want to be able to have an action. No, it's not right over that. Okay, so what I want to do the rest of the presentation is have a button that fires off an action. The action is going to talk to the file system. It's going to read a file and alert the text. So step one, get the application route, make sure it exists. You can also write a button. Let's call this read file. All right, and then in our route, we need actions hash, we need action. I'll do this first. I'll make it a little bit smaller. Can people still read that even though it's smaller? Trying to fit it all in the screen.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so basically Cordova makes stuff available to you on the window object. So in this case, I can with the file plugin, I can call window.resolve local file system URL and pass it some arguments. In this case, the specific directory, it'll go and look it up for you. But if you just say cordova.file.application directory, there's like 10 different directories where they have different write permissions. In this case, the application directory is just where all the HTML, it's basically your public directory, gets dumped into this www directory. And then I'm going to create a file that's just in our public directory that gets put into the www directory called file.txt, and that's what we're going to read. And then all of these functions have a success and a fail. you're gonna see that pattern with basically all Cordova functions. I'm just gonna copy and paste those.
Oh, be passed.
There might be, so I've also wrapped this. So for instance, if your application needed to run in a web environment, it's not gonna have Cordova available to it. And so the Cordova object will be undefined and will throw a reference error. So there's probably a global way to handle that, but for now I just checking if the type of Cordova is undefined. If it's not equal to undefined, I can do Cordova stuff, else I have to do something else. All right, so most of these file functions will, in the success callback, will just pass the thing that you're trying to get into it. So in this case, the success is I got file, and what gets passed in is this file entry. And file entry has some functions on it, one of which is file, which goes and I guess gets the file. I don't know, there's two different things going on there. And then you can just create a new file reader, and the reader has a read as text, and you pass the file in. And then it also has some callback functions like onload ends, and in that case, the thing gets passed back out as an event, and I'm just event.target.result, and that's the text. So this stuff is super well documented, so I'm not gonna try to, mostly I can't explain what's going on here, but I just copied and pasted this. So anyway, okay, so that's the code. We have a button. Can't do that. All right. So the nice thing about the add-on is that it gives you useful commands like Ember Cordova build. And what that command does is it will build your Ember app and then throw some bind attribute errors that you can ignore. And then it's going to move the contents of your dist directory over to Cordova's www directory.
When you say Cordova's www, so is there like the Cordova tool that you have on your local machine has its own understanding of what that is, that it can talk to like an iOS anything, I guess?
Yeah, does anybody know how to make the left bar bigger on Sublime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Text, never,
No?
text doesn't.
I think you have to like edit the CSS file for it. Yeah.
You were gonna say something?
I was just gonna answer that.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you do a Cordova build, you are building individual native projects. So you build an Xcode project, or you build a Java Android Studio project, and inside those project folders are all the things that you need for an app that uses a web view, and it has a www folder inside there that when you start that project up, it looks inside that. So that's why single page apps work for native wrappers, is because all of the business logic is in that app and not loaded from a server vendor of some, that,
Yeah.
all the JavaScript inside of the actual app.
It's all packaged inside of this thing that's been sent to
The huge push that Cordova and PhoneGap did in their latest version, where the command line tool is really great, is that it's, anytime you build it, that www folder is used and leveraged and just put into all the projects. Where the old version, you had to actually physically copy it and dump it into the project and then start the project.
Okay.
Do you have to have like an Xcode license if you want to do iOS, or would it just do it?
Well, the nice thing about PhoneGap is that the Adobe tool, if you sign up for Adobe any project that you make, you can just push to their site and they'll build every platform without a license.
But you have to sign, you have to pay a WFP to do that, I guess?
Yes.
You can sign up for free, and every app you push is public. So if you wanted to end up putting it in the App Store, you probably want to like that. The licensing is for Apple is more about having a developer license so that you can run it locally.
And having a Mac,
Yeah, and then,
which is the actually the more expensive.
yeah, $99 a year, and I'm like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, before the meetup, I created a developer account. It's free, but again, you can't like distribute any apps or anything. But you need a developer account in order to like build onto the actual device and not just the simulator. All right, if anybody can't hear me over the vacuum, just go ahead and like yell at me and I'll try to talk louder. Patrick. Okay, so this code is gonna read from the file system and it's gonna display the text, hopefully. So I built the Cordova and then just Cordova.
So your command line tool has builds for the platforms?
Yeah, so again, if I could show you the stupid file system, inside the Cordova directory, there's a platforms folder, and inside of that, you would have different platforms.
But you can do it all from Ember's tool and not Cordova's tool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And that's all part of the add-on.
Yeah.
Ember Cordova Open just opens up your project in Xcode. This is the point in the presentation where everything happens on this thing, so this isn't going to be very good.
I think we have a plug have that on the TV, like, which would kind of be meta.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be disappointing though, because all I'm going to do is click a button that's not styled. I don't know exactly what that is.
So, can you use this for the Rails project at all? PhoneGap or Cordova, or that's not?
No, that was kind of what I was saying about single page app.
Okay.
Is that
Why you can not use Rails, basically?
Yeah, with Apple, like, the code has to be on the device. You can't, as soon as you see an app that is set server side, they decline it.
Okay.
At least for Apple, I don't know about Java.
Is that just for the UI, or like, you can't even have the API?
Oh no, you can have API.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah, it's just a web view, so you can make standard HTTP requests.
So there's no way it could live on them.
It wouldn't really make any sense to do that. They didn't have an HTTP server. With Ember. I wonder, like, talking, I mean, that's fine, never mind.
Maybe it'll be worth looking at the file system. So anyway, okay, so the contents of the disk directory, the normal Ember disk directory, get ported over to whichever platform you're building's www directory. That www directory sits alongside other things that a standard Xcode application needs in order to run, like a manifest file and some other stuff. It's configured to look in the www directory for the index.html file. That's what gets booted up when the web view is served. And that's why it needs to be a single page application, because once that thing is served, that's the only thing it's serving. And then from there, Ember takes over.
What's going on in that output? Is that the app booting up?
Oh, down here?
Yeah.
Yeah. This spits out a bunch of stuff relative. So yeah, this is like some Cordova stuff, like however the plugin's configured, it's not using the proper thread. There's a Cordova plugin to output all console logs to this console which is a super helpful tool. So if you did console.log,
Oh, I use JavaScript logs.
yeah, it'll transfer everything into this space. Like without that, you won't see, it'll be silent. Anyway, so this is pretty much the end of the presentation because like nobody can see this. So
Can you write it?
Is there a button
on
on it?
Xcode?
what's that?
Is there a button on there?
There is. It says refile, and I did something wrong because it says file system here or something. Oh, you know what? I've got a working one.
Can't you run it in the iOS simulator in
Yeah.
Xcode?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do Ember build. That is not the right project. Okay.
Is that the Cordova stuff that's generated the Binetter?
Yeah, the add-on must not have been updated. This is all Cordova output, but yeah, the Binetter stuff. I don't know what they're doing with the Binetters. It hasn't caused me any issues with the apps that I've built.
What version of Ember are you using?
This is whatever 13.8 gave me, so probably
13, 12, or 13?
Yeah. I have used it with 2.0.
With no problem?
Just fine, and Ember Data. Alright. That too, I guess.
Yay. Is that the button? I'm just kidding.
I like your face now.
Okay, and okay, so the other one didn't work because I didn't create the file. But yeah, this is, I told it to go and look in the www directory for a file.txt and just to read the contents, and it just alerts what it reads. So, I mean, this is a really trivial example, but you can see how access to the local file system from an Ember application can be super powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I did an offline application where I mocked up a whole bunch of like JSON API documents and just read from the file system. Because they wanted to be able to, without any sort of internet connection at all, they wanted to be able to go into, like, connect to iTunes and change out those documents without ever having the device be online. And I was like, well, I can give them these JSON files that they can update and then replace, or they could learn Ember, like, or some other thing that I don't know how to do. So that was like a really cool thing, was that I basically faked the API for Ember Data with just like static JSON files, and use the file system code to read it, pushed into Ember Data, and then present the application.
I was talking to Patrick about this earlier. The guys who do the Ember Weekly podcast are actually using Ember CLI Mirage in production.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't push any of their podcasts or the metadata for their podcasts out anywhere. They just have like static JSON files. And so instead of doing that, they use Mirage and use the database functionality inside of Mirage, and just they have an adapter to talk to Mirage, and then it just goes and pulls whatever episode you're looking for. They're doing that like in production.
Yeah, it was a tricky problem. It was like, you can't rely on having an internet connection at all. Like, and when this thing's updated, you can't talk to an API. It just needs, like, somebody needs to manually change out files in the application.
Yeah, when I was early on trying to figure out Ember, I was tasked with trying to make a full-on, like, offline application just in the browser using an app cache, and I was like, Ember's perfect for that, right? It will be very simple to just go use app cache to cache an application, and you're smart.
Mark's smiling.
Mark,
you got a lot of experience there, don't you?
Yeah, and I was trying to use app cache. I was trying to use the local storage to try to make the save data and stuff like that. It was just the interface of those things is terrible. Like, there's technology to not blossom into something that's very simple and easy. I had a terrible time. It was years ago now. I don't know if it's better now, but This seems far more simple and far more like appropriate for an offline native application anyway.
There's if it's what I'm thinking of, there's an article that someone wrote about using app cache and the manifest, and if I remember correctly, the title of the article has the word douchebag in it.
Douchebag. That's the best article ever.
So you know what I'm talking about? App cache is douchebag.
I did read that a couple times trying to figure it out.
Yeah, if you look up app cache, that's like one of the highest hits.
And but it's true because the technology never really got developed to make it useful for production. And I think they abandoned it in favor of, is it web workers? Is that the follow-on that's actually going to allow you to do a real offline app like what you're talking about?
Well, app cache was the ability to run logic offline, so the JavaScript was cached, and there was events based around JavaScript or styles or any assets being cached. Web workers is to have
that's multi-threading, right?
multi-threading.
It's threading your JavaScript.
The database side
files
was
subject way.
IndexedDB, WebSQL, and then there was some SQL option built into the browser, and all of those are being scrapped. So like, yeah, I mean, nobody could solidify an answer because like Safari went with IndexedDB, Chrome went with WebSQL.
There wasn't a really good standard because one of them required that you use SQLite, and there was no alternative to that. And so they couldn't standardize on that, so you couldn't really do a SQL database.
Well, I wonder about that. Like, so with this Cordova, I mean, so I know iOS would use SQLite natively. I wonder if they could access this. I guess natively there's some kind of interface to the SQLite database.
Well, the key to Cordova is having either the plugins in the community or having an iOS developer build you plugins, because like the sites will walk you through building a plugin. The tough thing about iOS is that the bridge talking with JavaScript is really thin, and it's like setting up these really weird event hooks, and that's why you have an event that is fired, but it's fired in a weird way. With Android, it's really easy. Android can just inject JavaScript in and make direct JavaScript calls to your classes. So if you set up kind of a pub/sub model with an Android app, it can communicate really well with your app. I don't know how BlackBerry works, if anybody ever uses that. Or...
Nobody knows how BlackBerry
but more importantly, no one cares.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, didn't BlackBerry just make an Android phone?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like the language to talk between the two, the bridge that the plugins allow you and whatever is like this weird thing. So like, if you have an iOS developer that's developing a whole file storage or even local database storage within the app, you just need some JavaScript hooks to say like, save my data and send them a JSON package. So you could potentially create an adapter that does all that, and then make a plugin that has like iOS adapter or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's a PouchDB adapter, which I think Tom Dale is involved in some way.
That's probably plenty sufficient.
Didn't Pouch work with like IndexedDB, which was...
If you read the documentation, it's like, we'll try this, but then we'll try that, but then we'll try that, and then we'll try that. But if none of those things work, there's adapters for these 3 things, these 8 things. So it's like, they don't know. They just like, whatever device they're on, they're gonna try to connect to something and use it.
Which demonstrates the futility of the problem is, based on which browser you're using and the version of the browser, you don't know beforehand. There is no consistent story, which is what led to the douchebag article.
Yeah, that was a good. That was years ago. I read that book. That was like one of the ones that was actually insightful.
It's the third result on Google. If you just Google app cache, it's the third result.
Yeah, I tried for weeks. Kit really wanted the thing to be offline.
So is it fair to say that if you want to write web apps, I mean, it sounds like there was a push to say write web apps on phones as web pages, and now it seems like you do your web page wrapped in something specific for each operating system. I mean, is that kind of the way that we as developers are going, where the tools are at?
They're two different things.
Well, yeah, they're different strategies. I guess I'm wondering, like, what's winning today?
Well,
Depends on what you need, I think.
there's writing the web application as a single page application, like with Ember or Angular or pick your framework du jour. And it's just a web app. So you browse to a web URL and you run the application.
m.facebook.com.
Right? Apple doesn't get to anoint you blessed to run on an iPhone or an iPad.
Because it's a web page and
Because it's a web page,
local
that's exactly right. When you use something like Cordova or Titanium, or there are several other similar kinds of things which are hybrids, where you're developing in one language which is not natively supported on the platform, and then you're packaging it like what he talked about. There's native code that launches a web view that runs your single page application just like the browser does. That is what you submit to the App Store, and they bless it, and they allow you to run it. And then someone can download it and install it. So it's a very different strategy.
Well, I guess I wonder, is there any traction behind this hybrid approach?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
are most folks saying, I'm just gonna go get an iOS developer to write an Xcode?
The general trend, I think, is to get your app out the door using something like Cordova or PhoneGap. So you can be cross-platform across the board, and then as you start building your user base and you start running, like, web views have some performance limitations. Some of it is platform independent, like Android sucks at JavaScript, but iOS doesn't. And so you run into some stuff like that. And at some point, the juice isn't worth the squeeze to do the web view thing, and then you go native. But the goal is that at that point you have enough revenue that you can hire device-specific developers.
The original Facebook application was a hybrid.
That's a big example that didn't work out for them.
It worked out.
It worked out.
I mean,
They got an app out there, and then they
wound
switched
up
over.
switching it over.
Well, yeah, I mean, it did what it needed to do, which is get it on all the platforms that as not a web application but a native app. So you get the big thing was probably, I would guess, Facebook can't run.
I mean, it's like a really powerful model to say, hey, you know what, we can write, you have to write a lot of things, you gotta write a back end, you can write a single front end to start off with, and it'll serve everything
Yeah,
until
you can build
you start
platforms.
getting momentum. I think
And
this is
you
really
get
powerful.
hardware access to those platforms.
Yeah, that's the
And-
big thing about this, right? Like,
Yeah.
because
Get the
until
camera and the GPS
native
and all that.
JavaScript APIs exist in all of these mobile browsers, this is like the way you're going to get
Yeah.
that.
There's, I think, two routes in this. One is client-driven feature, which get it to market, and if you're building a web client, then it's a no-brainer. You just say, like, wrap it up, and it's adding some properties to the command line and wrap it up. But
It's also trivially easy to create a desktop app for your.
yeah, I was actually just looking up the Node WebKit. Like,
Yeah.
I think I want to wrap my thing up in that.
When you say desktop, for like Linux, Windows, Apple, or?
There is Cordova for desktop, not
Okay.
called Cordova, but you write a JavaScript application and you package it up, and now it's a native application that runs on your Mac or your Windows or
Slack
your,
works.
Yeah, Slack,
Spotify.
Atom. These are
Wait, those are not, those are not Cordova apps, okay, those are.
no.
those
I
are
mean,
philosophy.
it's the same philosophy.
Elements, it's like Electron.
yeah.
Electron.
Right.
Gecko. I think Gecko is another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if your preferred language is JavaScript and the web,
Mhm.
then you can pick a wrapper
Yeah.
and develop and target any mobile device or any desktop.
That's cool. Well, and it seems like in the world, there's a lot more web developers or JavaScript developers than, say, Android developers.
It's a bigger platform, right? Everybody's got a browser, so it's naturally a bigger platform and easier to reach more people.
But it has its the lowest common denominator problem.
When
Yes.
it is the,
I just finished an app where the requirements were in the run on
That's good.
Windows
Yeah.
touchscreen and an iPad.
Okay.
And that was handed to me, so like obviously I'm gonna build what I know, and it would have taken, we would have had to outsource both of those things if something like this technology didn't exist.
Yes. Yeah, so as long as your application's requirements fit within the capabilities of kind of this hybrid approach? That's a big question, but.
It's pretty, it's pretty flexible, like, you can
It's, yeah.
build for a platform.
If your application is data driven, if you're doing a lot of
Like line of business type
CRUD stuff.
Line of business, absolutely.
But games not so much.
If you're doing 3D games and stuff like that, then maybe.
If you're doing 3D games, there are game engines
Yeah,
that
for those.
basically do the same thing.
Yeah.
Unity, exactly.
Yeah, I've heard about it. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Anybody have any questions or comments? Or...
I had a quick question, just when you
Yeah.
had the platform -- iOS, so if you had done -- Android, would that have set up the Android directory?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
just off the command
If you
line.
don't give it a platform, does it build for everything?
I don't know.
So you come out and melt and go.
I'm curious, has anyone actually used Cordova or PhoneGap and put an app into production? Anybody else?
I used to do that regularly, yeah.
So you're presenting, so I
Yeah.
assumed you did. Because I have, I've published an iPad app. Actually, I published an iPad app and I use the PhoneGap technique in a native app to do JavaScript.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Daniel Smith did a talk 4 or 5, 6 months ago, where he was using Cordova to access his phone's GPS, and he was like launching rockets.
Oh yeah, I remember
and tracking
that.
the altitude and the acceleration and all that,
I remember
and
that.
having it sit back down. Which
Yeah,
was
that's
really-
kind of amazing. I had that kind of resolution for that. That was made by the phone.
Yeah, which is,
Honestly.
yeah, he just basically just like wrote this thing for a little cheap Android phone, strapped it onto a rocket, shoots the rocket up, and it just broadcasts its data back down to his phone, which is pretty cool.
Pretty clever.
Do you have to buy a new phone every launch?
I mean, if you got parachute,
You got one of those
It was a BlackBerry Android.
Yeah.
laying on the ground.
Oh, so it's disposable.
Yeah.
You got present, Chris?
yeah, that's great. If everybody's good, then I'll put that. Cool. Thanks, Greg.
I wonder if this is still recording. I'm sure it's not, right? Oh, it is. Well, we're gonna keep it going.
Sam's live meta programming thing on recorded by chance?
I think it got into the machine somewhere.
Okay, so
Speaking of me, I meant to say there was a talk from EmberConf this year about this like Firefox store equivalent to Cordova that was super good if anybody's interested in this sort of thing.
That was super cool.
By Brittany Storrose, I think.
How use their name? Storrose?
Yeah.
That was from EverConf.
Basically, you can use MRCLI to like generate Firefox.
Yep.
OS
So
app,
turns out there's a
iOS apps.
Firefox OS. It turns out there's a Firefox OS app store, and it's like dark sorcery. Like she just like fires up an Ember application and publishes it to the store live, like in the middle of the conferences. Like
People are downloading
Well,
her
have you
app
ever,
from
have you ever,
Chrome.
have you ever done it to Chrome apps? Chrome apps, and it's just so easy to just kind of.
my life's not that bad, Patrick. I don't have to do stuff like that, right?
Same difference, the same thing difference. Here's the thing, and it's gonna live in your, but it's incredibly easy to just put something in the Chrome store, which is.
Yeah, it is incredible. Yeah.
And here's your applications in the Chrome store. And there's a little bit of stuff. Like you can talk to there's a serial API that you can talk to like a serial port, so you can talk to the USB ports and stuff
Always
like that.
back to this, huh?
Chrome apps.
Always back to your serial ports.
I just thought it was cool.
Can you talk to your parallel port?
I don't know what that would mean. Let's start doing something
There we
else.
Can you make the font any bigger?
I'll do it. So yeah, my talk is going to be on blueprints. Everybody know what blueprints are?
No.
If you've ever used Ember Generate, that's a blueprint. So Ember Generate Route, Ember Generate Controller, Ember Generate Component, any of those various things, those are blueprints. They used to be called generators and they renamed them to blueprints. So it's going to be about doing fun things with blueprints because you can do fun things with blueprints. Who am I? There's some stuff about me. Never mind. Oh, I never filled that slide in. Awesome. So yeah, there you go. That's about it. I'm a blank slate, filling the gaps. Yeah, I work for Pardot, doing Ember stuff. Help run this thing along with those two fools over there. So yeah, Ultimate Money on Twitter. Blueprints are snippets from the Ember website. Blueprints are snippet generators for many entities that you use in an Ember app, like models, controllers, components, blah, 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 blah. Basically, they encapsulate some patterns, so it makes it really easy to generate bits and pieces of your application without having to like repeat the same thing over and over. Scaffolding in Rails is the same basic idea. If you do Ember generate help, you get a whole list of those things. How do I zoom into this thing?
Apple Plus, or Command Plus.
There we go. Yes,
Apple in my head. I think I learned it when I was like a little kid.
There's a whole slew of these things. You can give them options, all kinds of stuff. I think there's 42 all total that come with Ember by default, which is a bunch.
Ooh, so what happens when you generate a blueprint?
What happens when you generate a blueprint?
That was one of the options.
We're going to go through that.
Is that meta?
I'm blueprinting a blueprint. Yes.
Could I blueprint to live? Could I be like, here's some my own set of files that you might want to have in live?
Yep. You can.
Okay, good.
So, can I define my own blueprints? Yes, you can. So you do a new blueprint, and it'll do some stuff, and then you get this little file structure here, which is, it goes in under the original blueprints, and then whatever you call your blueprint, and then it gives you, by default, the index.js file. You don't get this file directly, but it's kind of important. I don't know why the hell they don't give it to you by default. Because if you're going to have anything with templates, you need that directory, and it's kind of confusing if you don't have it and you don't know you need it. But I put it in there because it makes more sense to put it in there. So that's the basic stuff you get with a blueprint. The important things are the index.js file, which kind of scripts, tells your blueprint what it's going to do. And then the files folder is where you set up your templates. So if you want to generate a controller with specific things in it, you would do app controllers, and skid name skid.js, and the name is whatever you pass in. So you do Ember-G controller, blah. It'll generate blah.js, and then whatever's inside of there. The other fun thing is that, I'm going to come out of it either. See, the cool thing about blueprints, you can build your own things, or you can override existing blueprints. So the local copies of blueprints will override Ember's defaults. So if you wanted to do a route blueprint, which is what we're going to look at, then you can override what Ember does by default, which is kind of fun, because if you're preparing for routable components, where you have a single high-level component named after the route, and then you pass all your attributes into that, you can override the route blueprint to generate that component, which is what we're going to look at, and then boom, you're set up to do routable components.
You should make a blueprint in every project to override the blueprint. So that's the files directly.
That's actually a good idea.
Could you override where it writes to the router.js file?
Yes. I don't know that I would necessarily recommend it. There's actually so that link right there, the Ember CLI tree master blueprints, is all the default blueprints, and you can see everything that they're doing because they're just Ember CLI blueprints. So you can go and see like what they're doing, which is really handy. It helped me a lot when I was developing some of the work. Yeah, and then with blueprint, we just talked about that index. There's apparently nothing to add in a blueprint. There's the index.js file, and then there's the files folder, which holds all the different templates that you may or may not need. This was going to be a live coding talk, but my laptop is wanting to be really silly, and it works for a little bit, and then things start breaking, and then if I check the app out back from GitHub, things start working again. So I'm not real sure what the hell's going on with that, so I just managed to get it working at about 6:45 this evening. So we're just gonna look at what it would look like to have a blueprint that would override the default route blueprint and give you, I guess, routable components, or glimmer components. I don't know if they're glimmer components, angle bracket components, what they're calling them?
Yeah, I think to be an angle bracket component, you have to make it a glimmer component because they're having like compatibility issues.
Okay, so this would be a routable component, or the pseudo way to do routable components, or get yourself ready for this. So we will alt tab Mr. Allen, make you nice and big, and zoom in a whole lot. All right, so we have here. Yes. There's the right button. Okay. So that we're going to do real quick. I've got this little, that's what I want you to do. So I made a little app to track Tomsters, because I'm a little bit obsessed with Tomsters, if you can't tell on my laptop. So this is the basis for the Tomster app. So we've got a list of Tomsters when they were born, and the idea is to click on said Tomster and get him to show up with picture. So these are all the various Tomsters. And not everybody's seen all these guys?
No, I haven't.
There's other ones besides just the cities, but I just did the meetup ones. This is one of the OGs, London. Louisville's just fun for the Kentucky Derby. This one's kind of a soccer guy, I guess. My favorite.
So you got a Yerba Mate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Munich's the gay one?
No,
He's the,
Munich's just got the hat. They actually just updated him with lederhosen, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, I guess people in Munich are streakers.
Yes, that's the case.
They're just natural.
But my favorite is this guy. Salt Lake City is fantastic.
We see that everywhere.
It's just, it's like this subtle troll that's not really a troll, and it's just like, wow. I'm surprised people aren't at least a little bit offended by that. So, people might be, I think Ryan Florence was involved with getting this one created, so people could be offended just because it's Ryan. But the goal is to create this little component right here so that we can look at a Tomster.
Should it be Brother Tomster?
So we'll go to the console first, and we'll show. I'll do the generator's already set up, so we'll do a little random generator real quick to show you what happens. I can type.
Unseen.
There we go. So, all it does by default is give you that index.js file. Go to so this is the index.js file, which you get by default. There's a whole bunch of stuff that can go in here. I'll show you a sample of something that's got a little more to it, where you can pass in options and a few other things. I won't use it because it's the thing that I use at work, and I'm not sure if they'd be real thrilled if I put it on video, but I'll at least show you the definition file for it so you can get an idea of what's some of the other things that you can do. But that's the base blueprint that you get. If you go to the Ember CLI website and look at the documentation for blueprints, it'll tell you all the different functions that you can use and all the different things that come with the functions. We will look at the route. So I did an Ember-G route, or Ember-G blueprint route, which overrides the default route blueprint. And I'm also going to show you a little bit of a hack that you can do here. So we'll ignore that for a time being. So all this does is just export an object that the blueprint can then read. So member component, routable, whatever style route. So file map tokens, that is used to name your file. So if you have things inside of this files directory, you can't really see it all that well, but inside the files directory I have template that's dash underscore underscore name underscore underscore dot HBS. The original version of this, was generating a component as well, but I didn't have to deal with that. I realized after the fact. But if you want to use a different, the defaults you get are skid name, skid dot, or just skid name is the default thing that you get. So that's whatever you pass in, like Ember, G, Blueprint, blah, then the skid name will be blah. And so anything you generate, you'll get blah.js or blah.hbs. But if you want to have other things, like if you want to have things that are named differently depending on the context of where they're at, you can set those things up here in timeout tokens. And all you do is just return a hash. And each bit is a little bit of a function that returns back what you want. So in this case, I wanted the component name to have a dash route on the end of it. See, locals are things that you can make available locally to the blueprint. So by default, you get dasherized module name, dasherized package name, not underscored, not humanized, camelized module name, camelized package name, and a couple of other different things. That's basically like the things that you would normally see either in the Ember in the component definition or in the template name. So it's a dasherized version of it or a like a camelized or humanized version of it. But you can define your own little things here. I'll show you another example of that where I do a few other different things. Before install, this is where I start doing a little bit of hacking stuff. So up here, I am requiring the blueprints, the blueprint model from Ember CLI, and then you can actually say, I want to call this specific set of blueprints, and then have them do something. So I can look up the existing blueprint and have it do something. So in this case, I'm using it to basically mimic what would normally happen with when you install a route. So I return that array is just basically an array of those blueprint objects, and then here in before install, this is just a thing so I know if I can have my component, if it's my component that I need the dash route attached to, if not, then I want the regular entity name. Entity name is the same thing as what you pass into the command line. And then you can call blueprint.install, and it does the installations for you. So you can call the route or whatever, unit tests, whatever you want to call it, which is kind of cool. Another fun thing is, by convention, if you have your own custom blueprint that isn't one of the defaults, so like if you have an awesome thing, if you have another blueprint called awesome thing-test, when you generate awesome thing, it will automatically look for that awesome thing test blueprint and generate that stuff too. So all you have to do is you don't have to call the test blueprints. If it sees the dash test of whatever your thing is, it will just call it automatically for you, which is kind of cool. And then you can also call .uninstall. I don't know what all the options are on Blueprint because I found this on the Ember forums. I was like, wow, that's really handy, and just kind of stole it. I haven't actually explored to see what all the different options are. But in this particular blueprint, all I'm really doing is just adding in the dash route to the component name, and then running all the rest of the stuff and forcing it to make a component. So if you would run all of that stuff, you would get, that's actually not the template you would get just a yield by default. We'll do one real quick and see what it does, see if it plays nicely. Oh, I still got some console logs in there too, nice. So this is what's in entity. So these are all the different options that are available to you in that options hash. Most of what you're usually concerned with is this little bit right here. But there's other stuff in here that, I don't know, depending on what you want to do, there might be some state in there you want. But it's all available to you if you need to use any of it. I don't know that a lot of the stuff's really all that useful. Bower directory, maybe if you want to do some stuff with like add-on G blueprints a lot to install Bower components or remove Bower components. And I think maybe that might be useful to use options.bower directory to install some stuff. But you can see, let's roll it back up. So this is it doing its own thing with the name of the blueprint. And if you scroll down, it creates the template, creates the route, creates the another template. Cool. Create some tests, creates a component, creates the component JS file and template, and then creates an integration test with the component. Now, if you look at them, you'll see what issue that was running into. If you go look at, I believe, the component files where it was jacking up in the template. Where's test? Oh no, it's fucking fine, it's the route. Yeah. So for whatever reason, that's not supposed to be that. It's just supposed to say. That's what it's supposed to do. But for whatever reason, mine's being weird. And if I check everything back out, then it works fine. And then it starts breaking again. And I have no idea why I don't run into this with the one that I do for work. But the cool thing is that if you use this kind of pattern and you're not having weird stuff happen with Ember CLI, you can override the default route, do Ember G route, and you get ready for routable components immediately. You don't have to do all the extra legwork to get ready for it by generating the extra component and then adding that into the route template and everything else. It makes it basically makes a lot of boilerplate a little bit easier to deal with. So yeah, all this one did was create the component, the Comster dash route. And if you look at the route template, that's all it does. And you can pass in things into space. So if you do //// whatever, and you want to nest a component or nest a route or whatever, it'll figure all that stuff out. It will also, this doesn't work as well. So see, it does like test dash route there. There's still a little bit of weird stuff around how all this works. So if I would have done this with just a route, you would have had Tomster dash route and just the empty options hash, so I edited that. So there's still a little bit of manual labor that's involved in getting things set up, but not as much as if you didn't do any of this stuff. And I'll go over here and just do this real quick.
So your use case is kind of to just help yourself write boilerplate right now?
Well, like in this particular case, if you're going to do the routable components shim stuff, you have to touch like 3 or 4 files, and it's stupid and it's always the same thing. So like this is actually kind of a pain point, right? Like you have to have a controller with an adders empty object, and you have to have a template that just has like all it's doing is passing an adders from the route into another component of a different name. So it's stupid. So it's better to automate this kind of thing than have to do it manually every time.
So yeah, so it is like that. It's like I know I like to use this routable components, and I'm going to start to figure out. I'm like I don't want to write all the boilerplate. Yeah, I might as well go and write mine.
This is a super smart idea that I'm going to steal, by the way, because I always like invariably mess this up too. Like I forget like a thing and then try to set property on undefined or something stupid.
You do it once, and then it's just done, and then if you need to update it. I think so if you update it, another fun thing, let's go back real quick. Crap, I'll change it. So we did it. So yeah, one nice thing also with using generators, if you do Ember G route thing, and then you think, crap, I didn't want to do that, you do Ember destroy route, type route thing.
Could you do D?
And all that stuff goes away, which is kind of nice, because if you put it in the wrong namespace or name it wrong, like Fat Finger or whatever, and just hit it in before you can just remove everything. And it's another nice little benefit of the generators.
So are your blueprints on a global tool or just project-based?
They're project-based. But now another thing.
Can you make an add-on?
You can make an add-on to do this kind of like, I can make an add-on for like Ember CLI routable component. And it just overrides the route with the extra bits and pieces. And then people can install that when they do Ember G route, it gives them the component in the template and the routable component, or the component named after the route.
So I'm wondering why you mentioned like the access to Bower components, like if you were to install something, would the install via a blueprint be different than the install via an add-on?
No, add-ons use blueprints.
Oh.
So if you ever install an add-on that it says you need to run Ember generate blah, That's a blueprint for the add-on.
Cordova was an example
Yeah,
of that.
Cordova, so you can image generate Cordova.
But if the add-on has, it requires other things, so if I have an add-on that requires Bootstrap or something like that,
Yeah.
like if I were to, you would have to run a generator, you'd have to run a blueprint to add that to the Bower, to the,
Bower.json?
yeah, Bower.json.
I think in the specific case of something like Bootstrap where you're just bringing in CSS, I don't think you have to. I think you can just like, as part of the add-on, add some Bower stuff, and then also as part of the add-on, like append those Bower directories into whatever the, I don't know, lookup path for CSS files is.
Okay, yeah, so I don't have to actually alter the Bower.json because when you install my thing, I'm gonna install all the Bower.
Yeah, I think the idea there is that like, everyone's installing the same Bootstrap, but in the case of Cordova where you need like some like JSON manifest or whatever that you're going to be having to manually edit, they have to like generate those files and stick them in your working directory, I guess is.
That's all that, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea behind it, is just to save yourself that extra bit of legwork. These are the hooks for the blueprint, so locals, we talked about briefly, it's like kind of where you can use those, you can define your own variables for either the template, for any of the template files. Normalized entity name is what you get when you generate a component that doesn't have a dash in the name. It runs a check in the component generator using normalized entity name to say, if you don't have a dash, we're not gonna let this happen. So if you have any constraints around the name of your whatever you're generating, you can put those in there. File map tokens are the file names. If you look at, so these are examples of like, this is a controller, so it goes all the way down to underscore path underscore name. So path, if you do like the ///, like put Ember generate controller /bar/test, and it would do /bar path test the controller. And these are the things that are available natively. And then you can add other bits and pieces if you want. So an example of doing that is, so we do some weird stuff with forms. So this is how you pass in options. So our forms have some icon related stuff to them. So allow for a dash icon option, and then you pass in we pass in font awesome names, and it'll generate this as part of the file. File map tokens, I need a form component name, which is the dasherized name of the dash form appended to it. I need the underscore titleized an icon for some stuff, so I've returned all of those things from the local, so you get access to the normal things that you would get, like the dasherized module name, the dasherized package name, and then I also have access to these things, which is nice. And I have some bits and pieces down here, because I couldn't figure out how to get that stuff from Ember inside of this thing, so I just copied what they did from Ember CLI with some regexes and some functions. But if you can't see it up here, I have this thing, blueprint for an action, and then I have action test. So if I were to do Ember generate action test, it would generate action test. It would go through and like do action test dash test. Like just, I don't have to do anything to do the test, which is kind of nice. And an example of using those bits and pieces. There it is. So that's something that comes by default. Classified module name, underscore module name was something that I provided. Titleized module name was something I provided. Icon was something that I provided. And that's just, that file gets generated.
EJS, I think. I think that's EJS templating, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's node compiled. Like if you're familiar with like Express, like it's actually compiling that as like a HTML file, right? It runs it through like an EJS compiler. I think.
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, it's copies the same thing from like ERB.
Yeah, that using that little bit of syntax is how you reference the bits and pieces, and you can have them in or without quotes, and it's fine. It doesn't much care. And this is so for us, like generating a new form for our application, touch like 5 different things. And if you didn't know what those 5 different things were, it was kind of confusing. So I was like, I'll just write a generator, and then you just generate it, and things magically happen. And it's been kind of nice. Because the other thing is that I can force an implementation of these 2 functions. And you'll appreciate this. Action test. These tests here will fail by default, as opposed to pass by default. So
That's a good idea.
I figured you would appreciate that. That you have to go in and make these tests pass in order for things to work.
That's really great.
Because if you think about it, the tests that Ember generates for you are kind of useless. It renders. Woo! Yay!
It gives you the template to write good tests.
No.
It gives you the template to start writing tests.
Yes. It gives
No.
it gives you a template
Create
start.
an HBS file first. Just go forth and conquer.
It's, yeah, so it
Or
creates,
controller or route or whatever.
I mean, yeah, I mean, then it gives you a little bit of like the boilerplate to like say, oh, now I have things imported I might have imported. It's a little bit nice, okay? I'm sorry, I like it. It's a little bit nice. I like that you have default failing. It's totally awesome.
Then you can see here, like I'm importing that classified module name. So for each of these tests that we write, we import the definition for that form so that I can just reference bits and pieces from it if I need to. So these things are pretty daggone handy. I wanted to do this live coding. I think it would have been a hell of a lot more informative if I had been able to do it live coding, but like I said, things were not wanting to cooperate properly. So but that's basically it. Generators are cool. The documentation's like, it's all right.
We just call you?
Sure, you can try it. You can hop on the guys on the Ember CLI Slack channel are super helpful. They helped me out for a lot of different stuff I was running into. Like they said you can't call a generator, like there's no built-in way to do it. But if you take a look over here at this little thing, you can kind of hack your way into it. So that was what the blueprints and then looking up the blueprint and then calling install on each blueprint was doing. Originally, I had a need to do that to just call the component blueprint, and I was like, I don't need to do that. I'll just do it on my own. But yeah, they're pretty cool little things to do. And you can write tests for them now, apparently. I have not done that yet, but you can write tests for them from what I have read. So if you want to test your blueprints and make sure they're generating what they're supposed to be generating, you can do that. Anybody have any questions on blueprints and generators and making things easier?
I know I tried writing one for an add-on one time. It was really hard. Or it felt really hard for me at the time.
It took me probably I don't know, better part of a day to get through writing like one blueprint for the stuff that we use, and then it was mostly just copy paste of the other ones. But there was enough like semantic differences and some of the things that it didn't make sense to write one generator with an option. So yeah, mostly the better part of the day to write the first one, and then it was pretty smooth sailing after that. And the nice thing is making modifications is really easy, and then if you rerun the blueprint, it will allow you to overwrite stuff if you want to. So like, we had a bunch of empty form definitions that I just reran the blueprints for, and then all of a sudden they were all updated like they were supposed to be, which was nice.
Yeah, I like that you're just kind of like, I'd rather have my generators do this. I'm gonna write a different one.
I thought the idea that you could overload the defaults and that Ember will pay attention to your local copy over the defaults is really cool. Just like I said, if you want to do, if you want to be like really hardcore, like I'm going to keep up with the latest thing with Ember, then you do a route component, or you overwrite route and it does the component thing for you, and then you're caught up. And then if that ever changes, then you just change it one place and then you're back caught up again. Besides like backporting all your old stuff.
Just need a log of all the times you call route.
Do what?
Just need a log of all the times that you call route on your project and update it and just dump that back in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overwrite all your files. Whoops.
Fun story, Ember CLI Watson does that. So if you have somebody on your dev team that is like hardcore tabs, don't use Ember CLI Watson because it converts them all to spaces. And then you have this massively huge commit because everything got turned back to spaces, and they're like, what happened? Like, I just ran a converter man, I don't know. So, yeah, that happened to me. About have any questions on generators?
How long have you been using Atom?
Ooh, someone's thinking about switching their.
Not even a little bit. I'm thinking about hitting you over the head with the Vim Bible. I'm letting you know that Vim is still out there waiting for you to use it.
So,
It's free.
just for you.
It's the best part about it.
You still like it?
There's a Vim mode. It's currently disabled. Because I tried it and I was like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and then disabled it. But at least gets me used to the Vim key bindings, which is a start.
Yeah, I was just gonna see how you like this for Ember development, and if there were any Atom like Ember packages or.
Yeah, there's actually an Ember CLI package. I don't use it all that much, but mostly because like Ember server does me no good because we rsync our local copy out to a Vagrant instance, and so I don't access localhost 4200. So like I don't get live reload and all that other stuff. So a lot of it doesn't do me any good. But yeah, there is the Ember CLI helper, which is that guy. There's a key bind I'll get to it.
With my tests.
Control auto, so if I just do new file.
Tests. Who runs tests?
There we go. So you got this little guy down here. You can barely see it. Yeah, you can't really see it, but you can generate test with the server. Hit the front little reload, and then you can just get out. So you can do a bunch of things from inside here. So you can generate.
Know what's happening.
It gives you the list of generators, and you click on it.
Yeah, and it's gonna be
Give it a name, and then run the generator.
Test drive it. What?
That's pretty much it.
Generate and run the server and run tests.
Yeah. That's all my Vim plugins.
Tabs
I was gonna
into
see
your
if you had any
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Apparently not.
So yeah, no, there's nothing like super fancy awesome about it. It's just Sublime is no longer being supported, and
Oh yeah.
I've liked Atom so far. I eventually plan to move to Vim or Emacs, but sometime in
Wasting.
We're always here for you.
The support group meets on Thursdays.
So we were talking about Electron or whatever it's called. Atom,
This is the.
this editor that he's using is JavaScript.
It's Electron and a lot of React, I think.
That's beautiful. Comments?
Yeah, it's got a nice plugin ecosystem. It's pretty active.
So I can just.
I like it.
It's some text, text.
Hyperactive.
And I can pass it variable.
Yeah.
I was using Atom for a while. It's like every time I launched it, it was like updating, and it was always the same components, plugins were getting updated on a daily basis.
That's good though. I mean, they're being actively developed.
You know, versus like
Have you seen fake
Web Faction.
But like fake.
Not Web Faction. What's the other one?
WebStorm?
JetBrains WebStorm. You know, it takes a year to get an update.
That would be great for
Yeah, my PHP store, we have PHP in front of it. My PHP store, so I may have enough that I'm like, I don't use it enough that they could go away. So people use it for JavaScript development and everything. It's just too fast for me.
Just copy and output from
Huh? I was wondering if we're doing the back end.
I should parse the text and.
All right.
I've been helping this college and just started studying way too much time on the test. I was like, I gotta stop.
That's great, like feeling it out. I like.
I wasn't just writing. I was creating coverage.
But you were like, get used to it.
Yeah, like nobody else here. I've never seen this many people without like a single other person use this Vim.
It's
You remember?
Vim guy, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Because I thought some were.
Got my little Tmx set up, shortcuts.
Yeah.
I've got a really horrible Vim plugin. If you want to check it out. It mostly just wraps like generators.
Well, so I have a little Tmux script that I run on whenever I open a project, and it just opens a big Vim window with the two consoles at the bottom.
Okay.
So I have a server running as well. Console I can do whatever. So full screen the Vim when I need to.
It looks really crazy. So when I first saw